Well, hello. It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. And this week, it's Pens on the Road as I visit the Ukrainian Orthodox churches in southwestern North Dakota. So, let's dive into it. So if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, I'm just kind of curious if you have Ukrainian Orthodox or otherwise in your area. Let us know down in the comments. And if you want to generally say the area, maybe don't be too specific, but that'd be interesting too. So let's dive into the pens. All right, so these are the pens I've had in use this week. I actually had a Lamy 2000 in use this week, but it's in use every week, so I just didn't include it. But from left to right, I have a Lamy Ion, Platinum Procyon, Pelican Stoller 3, Montblanc 332, Montblanc, I forgot. I got them written down here. 225, Senator President, Twisby Draco, Rexall Monogram, and a Pilot Custom 823, which will probably be in use for a few more weeks because they hold so darn much ink. These two pens, I'm not going to show you writing. I spent my last YouTube check buying several low-cost pens. Of the three that have arrived so far, these two really impressed me. So I'll just mention them now. This is a Waterman Allure. I like the color, first of all, but it's just a very classy, elegant pen, fine nib. I liked it. I was really impressed with it. And the other one that's really impressed me, this is the new Parker Vector. So expect one of these two to be my first impression next week. I've just been thrilled to pieces with those two pens. And they're not that expensive. So, and they're the cheapest two pens you see in front of you right now, so there is that too. I did also buy a Parker Jotter. It's okay, but it's not here. I did an okay video this week, so I want to do something else next week that I'm actually excited about. All right, let's look at some pens. All right, the first pen of the batch is this Lamy Ion. This was my revisit that I did this week, and it was just a terrible video from start to finish, but, they can't all be winners. So this is the Lamy Ion. One of the things I screwed up in the video, one of many, was saying it was a medium nib. I knew it was an extra fine, but I was trying to read the nib, and I couldn't. Not in this lighting. It looked like an M. When I got it in better lighting, oh yeah, that's an EF. And it showed up on the film as an EF, but I just didn't notice. The ink I have in it is Stipula Musk Green, which is a color I purchased when the first time Sailor discontinued Sailor Epinard because it seemed like a possible substitute for that. Then Sailor brought back Sailor Epinard and then discontinued it again. And I'm sure they'll bring it back again in a few years. So just kind of a nice murky green. I like it. As for the review itself, there was a lot went wrong. I misnamed pens and all kinds of stuff. One thing I don't feel guilty about, I am pretty not thrilled about the pen. I mean, it's okay. It's just meh. So I probably won't be using it much. I may even sell it or give it away. And yes, the cap is loose. I'm told it's so it can spin freely. It does keep a good seal despite that. I've also gotten some comments in the video that the new version of it doesn't have the rattle. So make of that what you will. During the video, I suggested a comparable pen might be the Platinum Procyon. I didn't actually look at sizes. I offended a few people, I think, when I brought up, and I had a Lamy Safari up there with the Aion, but anyway. I do like this pen. So we have the Platinum Procyon. I will admit I haven't inked this pen up a whole lot either. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I'm a little too spoiled for choice. The ink in it is Iroshizuku. Murasaki-shikibu, which is named for a Japanese lady poet. And it's a pretty purple. It's an ink that the level is definitely going down in the bottle, so I'm excited about that. Because my aim is to reduce the number of bottles in my collection, so going after some of these small Iroshizuku and Colorverse bottles has been a great way to start. Once I get through that fast progress, the bigger Diamine and Noodler's bottles and such will be a little slower going, but But I don't buy ink anymore, so that'll help. I'll replace like black ink or a staple. Parker Quink Washable Blue definitely will get replaced. This is a Pelican Stoller. Last year, for most of the year, I made it my daily writer pen. I don't know why. I had the idea of having school pens and home pens because of the pandemic, but it was just silliness and didn't last long. But I really liked this pen. I was very impressed with it. And, inking it up this week reminded me why I was impressed with it. I also have a very nice ink in it. It has a medium nib, I believe. And the ink in it is Kyo-no-oto. I used to say when these people came out with new inks, I would buy them, but their latest incarnations have been sparkly inks, and I'm just not a fan of those. This is a nice color, though, but not a sparkling ink. Like I said, they've come out with sparkling ones now, and there's a limited subset of my pens that I will put sparkling inks in. And sparkling inks are just kind of a pain, after the first day because of the way they settle in the feed and in the ink chamber, whatever it is. But very good pen. This was my first impression from a few weeks ago. This sat in an attic for 80 some years. It sat through a world war and part of a world war, let's say, and through communist control of North Macedonia. So this is the Montblanc. 332. This is a fine nib. Very different sort of fine from the extra fine Aion up above. The ink in it is a brand I like. It's one that I trust in my vintage pens. Califolio Aurora. One thing I've found with this pen, as I've written with it more, is that the cap doesn't post all that securely, but it's kind of too short to hold without the cap, so not sure where I am on that. This Aurora ink is a very nice color. And now their color palette is nothing too crazy, but they do have, like I said, some very nice inks that I trust in my vintage pens. So I can thank Chris Rat52 for introducing me to that brand, because he sent me a sample of, I think it was Inti, maybe? I don't remember. My next pen, I think, could be a Lamy 2000 Substitute. Part of why this brand with the bird splat was affordable in this pen was because one of the bird splats broke out under the guardianship of a previous owner. And I'm noticing, and this is a function of this specific ink, I guess, I'm noticing some crusties. Oop. Okay, so it's been a couple of days since I wrote with that pen. And that's one of the things I don't like with crusty inks. Certain Diamine inks can be very crusty. And apparently so can this particular Colorverse ink, which is not something I've ever noticed with this ink before. So I'm not super thrilled about that. I suppose that's what I get. Like I said, I don't think I wrote with the pen for a few days here. Mainly because of that Allure and that Parker. Yes, the Allure and the Parker beat out this vintage Montblanc. I'm usually not excited enough about a pen to immediately publish a video on it, but I gotta publish on that Allure. So this is an extra fine, and I'll bet there are crusties all through this nib. How long did it take? I know I was writing with this earlier this week because I've got the page. And I think I corrected a quiz with this earlier this week too. I don't get the students saying, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Squirrel, what pen did you use? What ink did you use to correct this quiz?" I don't get that kind of remark, but still. My point is, it hasn't been that long. So I wonder if I just didn't cap it completely or what the heck I did. What I did off screen here is kind of moistened the nib with a little bit of wet paper towel. I mean, I'm the only one using the pen, so whatever. If I spread COVID, I spread it to myself. But yeah, I am not getting this to write at all, so I'll bet crusties are all through that feed. So I think we're going to abandon this and move on. That was Colorverse Golden Record, by the way. I've never had that with that pen. I've never had trouble with that pen drying out, and I've never had that ink form crusties like that, so yay. My next pen kind of relates to the big idea in this video. This is my Platinum President. And we've got the Ukrainian Ministry of Coal here. Did I say Platinum President? I meant Senator President. Senator is still around. They just sadly don't make pens like this anymore. But monogram pens like this are a thing that they are known for. So this is a Senator President. I thought about trying to match the colors of Ukraine's flag, but this ink just called out to me, so that's what I went with. Plus, how do you do yellow and blue in one pen? Yellow with blue sheen? I don't know. Or blue with yellow sheen? So the ink in this is Diamine. Damson. And let's just appreciate how well this beautiful German pen writes. Beautiful German pen that was given as a gift to the Ukrainian Ministry of Coal. And who knows how it ended up here in southwestern North Dakota, but there you go. That's kind of the fun of vintage pens. They have a story. You just don't always know what it is. My next pen, Gary Eves did a video comparing this to a Chinese pen, and he admitted that he really likes this pen. And I do too. Just a very attractive, well-done pen. And TWSBI is based, I believe, in Taiwan. Oh, come on. Not 2 pens in a row in this video. It's another one I was just not too long ago writing with. But I also noticed when I laid the pens out, the cap on this one had come unscrewed. So I think it may legitimately be dried out from that. There we go. So this is the Twisby Draco. The pen has a broad nib on it. And the ink is the mysterious Platinum Classic Cassis Black. Which is one of their Iron Gall inks. I am looking, possibly next summer, of doing a video about Iron Gall. I actually bought some oak galls, which, to my parents who live in Pennsylvania, where they are surrounded by oak trees and such and can get an infinite number of oak galls, it probably seems strange, but I live in southwestern North Dakota, so where am I going to find an oak gall? So I just found a bag at surprisingly, in a natural food store. And so we'll see what we can do. Probably won't put it in this pen, though. We'll put in a cheapie. I've got some Jet Pens Chibis or Platinum, not Platinum President, what's the word I'm looking for? Platinum, doggone, the word is gone. The clear, cheap ones. Preppy, Platinum Preppy. Alright, I haven't inked this pen up in a long time, but this is a monogram pen that was special made for Rexall Drugs. Oh, I don't have a lot of light close to the pen right now. I'm not sure. Oh, I know why, because I forgot to turn on 2 of my lights. Alright, so hopefully the writing sample turns out, because I really don't want to refilm this. So this is a Rexall Monogram, probably from the 1920s. This is one of my first vintage pens that I restored. Basically, it was putting a new sack in it. And, well, new sack and some cleaning. Okay, a lot of cleaning. So Rexall Monogram, the ink in it. I told you I like this Califolio for vintage pens. This Califolio Anahuac. I did know why it's called Anahuac, but I kind of forgot, so I'll have to look that up again. Apparently wasn't important enough for me to keep in my long-term memory. But, you know, kind of a nice orangish brown color thing. And my last pen. The ever wonderful, yes, there's a reason I'm unscrewing the back. The ever wonderful Pilot Custom 823. I think I told you last week about the name for this ink. It's Krishna Writer's Night. Apparently, in the part of India where this is made, is very warm. So this is not going to be a snowy night, but it could be a stormy night. So my mental image was a stormy night, and it matches up with it. Because I will tell you, I have been guilty in the summer sometimes, as long as it's not coming through the windows, of sitting in the kitchen right by the open window and writing in the almost pitch black. Because I just love that. You know, there's a storm out there, lightning flashing. I just love that. You know, I have to have a small light with me. I usually bring this desk lamp that you can't, well, yeah, you can see it. I usually bring that in with me and plug it in, and right at the kitchen table, right in front of the window, and just enjoy the storm. I love storms, so I have been very guilty of staying up in the summer sometimes till like 1, 2 in the morning just to write in front of a storm. Gets ruined when the rain starts coming through the window and I gotta close it, and then, it's still kind of enjoyable, but not to the point I stay up late doing it. It just loses its magic if I have to close the window. My parents have a porch. I don't think I'm giving anything away too personal here. But it's a very extended porch. So you can actually sit out there during a storm. Never did it there during at night during a storm. Probably would have gotten a get to bed. So, but yeah, I just love storms. So, anyway, good times. So, before I take you on the road here, I just had a couple of things I just wanted to mention. And I gotta have this camera here to do it, so we'll just do it. Actually, just one thing, but all the rest of my cheap pens came in, so I may show you just what's coming. But, so I was driving into Dickinson, North Dakota. Dickinson is my city. You can no longer buy shoes or men's clothes in the town where I live, and I needed shoes. Like, literally, water was coming through the sole of my sneakers. And my dress shoes, the top part was starting to do that number. So I just thought, yeah, stop being cheap, squirrel. Go buy some damn shoes. So turned out not to be the best day to go up. It was fine down here in the banana belt, but as you got further north, there got to be ice on the roads and stuff, and a lot more snow, so that wasn't super fun. But anyway, one of the things is my sound started cutting out. Now, I use my cell phone. I subscribe to The Economist magazine, and usually I play that through the car's speakers, because you can download the audio version. Because I don't buy the paper version of it. I just do the electronic version. Because why buy paper magazines if you're not going to keep them? And who's going to keep them? So, yeah, the electronic just is more environmentally friendly. And it's nice. You can be getting breakfast and listening to them, or driving and listening to them. And the sound was cutting out, or it would come through only one speaker. So, you probably know that I drive a 2000 Camry, as in year 2000. So it's 22 years old. It does not have the ability to listen to a cell phone. I don't think that was even a thing when my car was built. So what I discovered is this thing, which is a wonderful cassette adapter that'll plug into my cell phone. Although cell phones no longer have headphone jacks, so I had to get an adapter to plug this into my cell phone. But as you can see here, maybe, yeah, sorta. It's that lighting thing again. You got bare wire there, bare wire here. Now, could I solder it and repair it? Probably, although this one's kind of at an awkward spot. I do know how to solder wires, but I was just thinking how long I've had this thing. And they're cheap. They're like $7. So I went into Walmart while I was in Dickinson and asked the lady at the electronics counter about this. And she looked at me like I had a horn growing out of my forehead. And I said, okay, never mind. And she says, well, some of the cell phone stuff is in aisle 16. So I'm like, so apparently this isn't a common item that people buy at Walmart. And she was young enough, she probably had no idea that this was ever a thing. But I did get a new one. The trip home, I had much better audio. So I'm kind of curious to take this apart and just see what it's like inside. But I know from Technology Connections, I'll put the link to the video down in the video description, there's not huge amounts of stuff. But they're very cool and very useful for listening to music or podcasts or anything on your cell phone. So, yeah, They still make them, apparently. And you can still get them at Walmart. And I'm wearing one of my new pairs of shoes, the tighter pair, because I'm kind of trying to break it in before I have to wear it for a long time. So my other 3 cheap fountain pens came in. So, like I said, I've got a Parker Vector around here somewhere, but I don't know where he wandered off to. This I bought. I was curious. Oh, I have it upside down. This is a Schaefer Star Wars something. I forget the... Oh, Schaefer Pop Star Wars. So it's apparently based on the new Star Wars. It's Kylo Ren. I looked him up, and apparently he's one of the new villains, or Darth Vader's son, or something. I don't know. He wears a mask like Darth Vader anyway. So it was the cool-looking one out of the batch. They had several, so I picked it up. I picked up this Schaefer, what is it? Schaefer Icon. Which was very loose in its packaging when I got it. But anyway, whoop, yeah, see. I got a Schaefer Icon. God. And finally, I saw a Pilot Explorer, which looked kind of cool. You might notice a common theme there where they're all red. Yep, guilty as charged. But anyway, so I'll be curious to see if they impress me as much as those 2 Parkers did. Or sorry, as much as the Parker and the Waterman did. So anyway, I did decide this week to go up to, on the way to Dickinson, I did decide to go visit these Ukrainian Orthodox churches, just because I knew they were there and it just seemed like an appropriate time. So let's get on the road here and go check them out. So it was today while I was driving around and got home and started editing video footage together that I discovered that, holy cow, I have not recorded any dash cam footage since December the 5th, 2021. I don't know what the heck I did, but I stopped recording video footage on that date. So, none of my voyage and none of my driving actually ended up being recorded. And it was some very interesting driving conditions because, yeah, down here in the Banana Belt was good, but once I got north, there was a lot more snow. It was drifting across the road. There was a lot of ice, thanks to it drifting across the road in the warm temperatures. And, yeah, none of that recorded. So, I'm going to use my footage from December the 5th, 2021, because I don't care. I need something. Because I don't want to go on camera right now, because I am done. I'm no longer camera suitable, so, yeah, we're just going to go with this old footage, interspersed with actual footage of the Ukrainian churches. So my first voyage was into Belfield, North Dakota, where I remembered 2 churches. I remembered one that was kind of modern and brick and, you know, modern, and another one that was old-fashioned with blue domes. I could not find the one with blue domes. But I did find an old church, so I'm wondering if the one with the blue domes is from somewhere else and I just can't figure out where it was. But Belfield, North Dakota, if you ever come to the state, is right on the interstate. So it's not like if you came to visit me where you have to go off in the hell to nowhere, edge of the earth type of stuff. You know, Belfield is right there, part of civilization. So you could visit Belfield. But let's take a look at the brick church first. All right, well, I'm in Belfield right now. We're going to take a look at St. John's Ukrainian Catholic Church, at least from the outside. Okay, so it's a pretty modern church. I'm going to look for a date here. It still has the onion domes. St. John's Ukrainian Church. Apparently they do confessions date here. Okay, 1966. Okay, so only part of this recorded, but I was at that time thinking, I have seen a church with blue domes, and it was a Ukrainian Orthodox, and I thought it was in Belfield. And so I saw that vacant lot across the street, and I thought, maybe it was there. And this recording picked up kind of in the middle of those musings, because I don't know what I did wrong, but I did something wrong. I feel like I remember an older church across the street there. I was looking for it. I remember it had blue domes, kind of like that house there. I don't see it. So anyway, just kind of a fun old church. Not that old, but apparently still functioning. And right here in Belfield, North Dakota, you're just going to look down the street. Okay, I did find the other church. It is... I got to do some research now, because the one that we were just at was called St. John's Ukrainian Catholic Church. This one is St. Peter and Mary. We'll have to look when I get up there. Something. But anyway, Ukrainian Orthodox Church. So there may be a difference. Okay, editorial me has to speak up here. I was a little confused when I saw the word Catholic. And I'll tell you what's going on. There is a Ukrainian Catholic Church, Ukrainian Orthodox. The Ukrainian Catholic Church recognizes the authority of the Pope, who lives in Rome. And the Ukrainian Orthodox is a more Eastern church, which considers its head to be the Archbishop of Constantinople, who is, as of this filming, Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew I. And, of course, he does not have nearly the power that the Pope does. So, I'm going to just share. I went looking for that blue-domed church. Didn't find it. But I did find another church, which was abandoned, I think. But anyway, very cool. I think the Blue Dome Church is in my memories. I don't know from where, but it's in my memory. So I'll find it someday, gosh darn it. Okay, one big difference is that cross on top. Okay, let's look at the electrical box. I think this church is abandoned, and there are no signs of life around it. So after Belfield, I continued north on Highway 85, which is the major north-south route in this end of the state, and I ended up, I'm not sure how many miles north of Belfield, but at St. Demetrius, and the parking lot kind of scared me because it wasn't plowed, so I ended up parking kind of by the highway and a little too close to the highway, but yeah, I was kind of scared. I don't want to get my camera stuck out in the country, so let's take a look at St. Demetrius. Oh, interesting bell tower. Other details. Not the most plowed of parking lots. I left the car out there by the road. Ooh, slippery too. One other thing worth seeing here. I don't want to go back to it because the snow looks kind of deep back there. So use the magic of the zoom. So a little bit of a altar or something. I'm not Ukrainian or Catholic, so I don't know what that really means. But there you go. Just a nice setting out here in the country. I mean, it's along a major highway, but it's out in the country. Yeah, look at the traffic on this major highway. Oh, there's some. Not expecting to wade through the snow. I don't have the best footwear for this. I'm actually on the way to Dickinson to replace these shoes. Okay, just so you know, I'm doing this for you. You know, actually not bad weather. It's 20 degrees out, or if you like a more rational system, -7 degrees Celsius. So that country church was really cool, but not plowed, so, you know, I parked by the highway and everything. But I headed into Dickinson because I had to buy shoes. I needed a pair of dress shoes, I needed a pair of sneakers, so on I went. And I had some very cool footage of Villard and so on, but I can't share that here. So what I can share is in Dickinson on Villard, there's a Ukrainian Institute. Not a whole lot to see here. But if you're on Villard in Dickinson, there is a Ukrainian Cultural Institute. Everything you want to see is inside. So we'll just take a look at the door. If you're interested, Ukrainian Cultural Institute, and I imagine they have hours, but they don't post when they are. Not now. And we've got a rally for the Ukraine. And they're doing Lenten lunches. Again, it's just right on Villard here in Dickinson, North Dakota. The wind was definitely in effect in that last little video piece. But when I started this, my whole idea was I'm going to film the Ukrainian Orthodox churches in the area. And imagine my surprise when I got to the very first one, that brick one. And yeah, it wasn't a Ukrainian Orthodox, it was Ukrainian Catholic. And so I had to figure that out when I got home. And as it turned out, 2 of them actually had the word Catholic in their name. So most immigrants from Ukraine actually came to North Dakota between 1898 and 1899. You know, they started somewhere else, but they eventually ended up here. And they mostly came to central North Dakota. I'm on western North Dakota, but apparently a branch of them came out this far for some reason, who knows. And most of them were from, most of them were Catholic. So I had to question, okay, I know about Ukrainian Orthodox, what's this Catholic thing? So I had to find it out, and what a rabbit hole I went down, because this video could easily have been released on Saturday. But I had to know. So I had to research it, and wow, what a rabbit hole I went down. And you're going to get the most superficial, quick explanation possible, because there's a lot to unpack here. So, there's apparently Ukrainian Orthodox, Ukrainian Catholic, and Roman Catholic, and apparently two different versions of Ukrainian Orthodox. What, my whistle there? So, let's start with the Eastern Orthodox versus Roman Catholic thing. So the Church of Rome is very old. It dates back to the Apostles Peter and Paul in the 1st century, the Common Era. And they emphasize the central authority and primacy of the Bishop of Rome, who we now know as the Pope. In 451, we had the first schism over the issue of whether Jesus' human and divine natures were separate. Back then, travel was difficult, and communication was poor, and it just wasn't so much noticed. But in 1054, it became a lot more obvious. We had this growing estrangement between Rome and the Greek Christians, and we had our second schism. The Pope of Rome and the Patriarch of Constantinople excommunicated each other, and ultimately we ended up with the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. Now, the Roman Catholic Church, kind of in an effort to heal the schism, in the 15th century encouraged what they called uniate churches, Eastern in ritual and law, but Roman in allegiance. I really don't know why I stopped there. I had the feeling I was taking a photograph. We'll go with that. How's that sound? Once again, I just really wish I would have been able to have the footage from the actual trip instead of this several months old footage, but such is life. I did figure out what was wrong, but too late now to fix it. But anyway, so they came up with this kind of compromise. So what it is the Ukrainian Catholic Church is actually part of the Universal Catholic Church. The Eastern rites have a separate code of canon law from the West, and they're separate but equal, if that makes sense. So Christianity actually took root in Ukraine in 988 Common Era, when Vladimir, Prince of Kievan Rus, was baptized. The church was under the supervision of the Patriarch of Constantinople, but it actually maintained ties with the West. So in 1595, the churches of southern Rus, which is present-day Ukraine, were guaranteed by the council at, sorry, I might butcher this, Brest-Litovsk, that the liturgy and Byzantine tradition would be respected by and recognized by Rome. And so they reunited with Rome. So now we had two churches, the Ukrainian Catholic and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. But wait, there's more. So by the 1700s, 2/3 of Ukraine were Catholic, but Orthodox Russian was expanding control into Ukraine. So in 1839, Tsar Nicholas I abolished the union in all regions under Russian rule, and it continued in areas that were under Austrian control, because Ukraine was not an independent country at that point. So when the Soviets took over, the Soviet Union forced the Catholics into the Russian Orthodox Church, but that wasn't good enough because they were atheist. And the communists also began to arrest and imprison the Catholics. In 1945, all of the Ukrainian Catholic bishops were arrested and killed. But today, The Ukrainian Catholic Church is the largest Eastern Catholic Church at 4.5 million people. In a country of 44 million, but still. So 78% of Ukrainian adults identified as Orthodox in a 2015 survey by Pew Research, and Russia has a similar percentage. At the time of the survey, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church was still controlled by the Russian Orthodox Church. I'm kind of tongue-twisting here, sorry. A plurality of Ukrainians, which means not a majority, but the largest group, said that they took the leaders of the Ukrainian National Church as the highest authority of orthodoxy. And in 2015, it was just not feasible to survey the easternmost provinces and Crimea. So a little bit about the eastern versus western divide in Ukraine. More Eastern Ukrainians in 2015 again thought that Russia was obligated to protect Orthodox Christians outside its borders, and not so many of the Western Ukrainians thought that. So who controls the Ukrainian Orthodox Church? Well, the largest Orthodox denomination is, of course, the Russian Orthodox Church. And at one time, it was given the Okay, I'm stopping again. I don't remember why. I must have photographed something. But anyway, they had the power to appoint the Patriarch in Kiev. But the official Ukrainian Orthodox Church was resurrected in 1991, due to the fall of the Soviet Union. And they declared themselves independent in 1992. But not all of those churches agreed. So there are currently two Ukrainian Orthodox churches. Some of them are the independent branch. Some of them see themselves as part of the Russian Orthodox Church, although there's been a migration from the branch that thinks they're part of the Russian Orthodox Church to the other one. And the Russian Orthodox Church, of course, refuses to recognize the independence of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. So that was real quick, very superficial. I would suggest you peruse my links down below. I've got quite a number of them. There is a lot there to unpack, including some videos. And I didn't want to take sides today, although I think you all know which side I'm on. I'm definitely on the side of Ukraine. My own country, the United States, has been guilty of the same thing as Russia is doing right now. That doesn't mean I am going to take the side of Russia. And an important thing is remember that the citizens of a country are not its leaders. They're not its elite. And they're not necessarily responsible for what its leaders and elite are doing. And I think as we move forward, that's an important distinction to remember. I don't have an answer for what's going on in Ukraine, but I think it's important to remember that ordinary Russians are not necessarily our enemies. I also think it's important to remember that this is not the only place in the world where it's going on. And for whatever reason, I can think of a couple, Ukraine gets the focus. I think my focus came when I started thinking about what the hell is he thinking attacking this country. And then I started thinking longer and looking at a map and thinking, oh, look at all those Baltic states right on the Baltic Sea. Look at control of the Black Sea. Look at all the resources in Ukraine. Look at what the Soviet Union controlled in Vladimir Putin's youth. And I am scared a little bit where this can go. So, I'm not a international expert, but I thought this religion thing was a little piece of it, and I thought it's very important again, I went up to these churches thinking, oh, I'm going to photograph these here Ukrainian Orthodox churches. It'll be kind of cool. And the word Catholic just opened up a new world to me. So, they are mostly, these are the people that settled here in North Dakota. But Ukraine is mostly Ukrainian Orthodox. And the Russian Orthodox Church refuses to recognize their independence. And there's definitely some history there. And you can read it in my links. And I think there is a religious component to this war. And religious wars can be some of the scariest because these aren't people fighting necessarily for their nation. They think they are serving God. Or their interpretation of God, anyway. Now, what it appears at the moment is that the common soldier is sort of mystified and maybe not interested in fighting, but it doesn't matter because so many innocent people are having their lives destroyed or taken because of this. And I'm just glad to share a focus on the religious part of this. I'm not a political channel. I make comments on politics and other things, but the bigger thing for me was just learning about the religion in this little corner of Europe. And, I hope you will investigate it further for yourself. I think that's where I'm at. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And again, do you have any Ukrainian churches in your corner of the world? I'm just kind of curious about where they spread to. And I'm actually curious now that I've learned better. Ukrainian Orthodox? Which version of Ukrainian Orthodox? Or is it Ukrainian Catholic? And I think it'll be interesting to find out. And I promise now, 3 months into 2022, I finally realized that what's wrong with the dash cam. So I promise that is fixed now. So I hope to have more driving footage soon. Although don't expect much snow this winter, because it looks about like this now. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.